Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Just before we get into today's video, I absolutely need to touch on the world's current situation and the murder of George Floyd. I just want to let all of you know, first of all, that AdSense from today's video and all these week's videos, and if affiliate links are included in the description, all that money I am donating to organizations, charities, and non-profits that need the money. And that's how you can help me donate and how you can donate. Please watch these videos through without skipping the adverts. All you have to do is watch a 2-minute, a 5-minute advert all the way through, and that's how you can help and donate. I'm going to leave helpful links below for you all as well, which I have been doing in my other videos on my other social medias, Instagram, Twitter. I would also ask that you follow me there. I would also just like to say that this is a cause isn't the right word, but this is a situation that is so much bigger and so much more important than your online presence and just you being seen to be helpful. I would ask that you don't just post for the sake of posting things. It's so much deeper than that. Think about what you're posting on social media. Think about if it's helpful. Have you put a link on there? Have you directed people to the right places to help? Don't post things just to be seen posting. So let's get into today's video. I talk a lot about how people like to say that makeup has rules, and I always say individuality and creativity has no rules, but makeup does have a theory. And one thing I think that is really important, not just about makeup, but anything that you're learning, if you're learning a skill or learning like a life skill, and makeup is a life skill apparently, is to know the rules before you break them, or to know the theory before you break it. You know what I mean? You learn the rules of makeup so you know how to break the rules properly. You learn the theory behind it, you learn a technical aspect behind it. It's like following a recipe, you know, from a cookbook, and then thinking, okay, so I've learned the basic, now I can add all my, I don't cook, so I don't know what you would add, spices. So I'm going to talk about a few makeup rules today that you are absolutely fine to break when you're doing your makeup. I know I'm doing a lot of talking today, but let me just explain my eye. Yesterday I woke up and I think I must have scratched my eye. I itched it so hard that, like, I don't know what the skin of your eye is called, like the protective film, I guess. It almost looked like it had blistered and it was like coming away from my eye. I thought it was eye poo and I tried to pick it out and it was actually my eyeball skin. So I'm not having the best time. Let's talk about measuring up eyebrows. We've always been told, and it's a good rule to go by sometimes, that measuring your brows means measuring from the corner of your mouth or the end of your nose here, and that's where the inside should be, then through the eye bit, and that's where your arch should be, and then from the corner of your nose to the corner of your eye, that's where your tail should end. That isn't always the case. There are different style brows you can do, a straight brow, brows that go up this way, all that kind of stuff. And again, people's eye shapes are different. What if the corner of your eye is in, you know, further in? Eye shapes are completely different, and brows are going to sculpt the face, meaning that sometimes if you take the tail too far down to line up with your eye, then you're going to downturn your eyes. I know if I was to take my tail right down to here, it wouldn't be the best looking eyebrow. So that isn't something you really have to pay attention to. Play with your brow shape. Do you want it to like lift your face a little bit more? Do you want it to be straight? Are you doing like this really big eye makeup? Do you need them to be higher and arched? It really, really does depend on your style. I'm never really offended by eyebrow shape or put off by eyebrow shape or talk about people's eyebrow shapes so much. I do talk about how they pencil them in and how they are drawn in terms of rounding them off or squaring them up, whatever. Brows are so personal to everyone. Yes, there's a technical aspect to it, and people who, you know, red brows, do that kind of stuff for a living would know that also, that, you know, there has to be some kind of structure there, but you don't have to abide by that shape. I change my eyebrow shape depending on eye makeup. Sometimes I'll draw straight across, sometimes I'll let it have this little arch. So it really does depend on your eye makeup and what kind of look and kind of vibe you're going for. While we're on the eye area, let's talk about mature eyes or ageless eyes and using shimmer and bright colors. There has always been this rule, which I don't understand, which isn't something I even consider to be makeup theory, is that the older you get, you can't use bright colors, you can't use shimmer, you can't use glitter. Okay, so here's the thing with that, is with shimmer, glitter, it reflects light. How I like to work on ageless skin is by playing with light and shadow, not coverage, not product. Where are we bouncing off light? Where are we adding that natural glow back to the skin? Where do we want light to bounce off a face? Scientifically, like everything, it's how we see things. Light comes in and bounces off. So where do we want to brighten the face? The eyes. The eyes, we want a really nice, bright eye. So let's just quickly touch on the difference between a shimmer, a glitter, metallic, or a satin, for example. Satin is almost like a silky kind of glow. There's no texture to it. It's just that really nice shine. Shimmer has that tiny speck of glitter to it. Glitter is full on chunky. And I forgot what else I said. The other one. So on anyone, to take a shimmer shade of shadow and just touch up in these areas where maybe we do need a tiny bit of a lift, isn't gonna hurt anyone. It's not gonna make you look overly made up. It's not going to make you look like you're wearing too much makeup or anything like that. It's going to bounce light off your face. So using something shimmery and shiny is never a bad thing. Where you do have to be careful is where can you see that colour, if that makes sense. So when you have your eyes open, is your eye slightly hooded here? Is it slightly hooded here? We want to add vibrancy and light and colour to the areas where we want to brighten. So think about that. Think about the structure of the eye. Think about contouring the eye as a separate part of the face. We contour our face, we sculpt our face in a certain way. Do the same thing with your eyes, using light and dark. Okay, so there's two kind of rules in one here. The first one I want to touch on is using a lighter concealer under the eye. So you can absolutely use light concealer under the eye. I remember people always saying, oh, it needs to be 2 shades lighter, it needs to be this. I don't know where that rule came from. So if you want your under eyes to be brighter, just taking a lighter concealer and then using that straight on top of a deeper under eye gives you this ashy kind of finish. So that isn't really what we want to do. We don't want to make our eyes look brighter but grayer. We want them to be either equal in tone to the rest of our skin tone or slightly brighter. So if anything, if you are trying to lighten under your eyes because you have a deeper under eye, if anything, you kind of want to go 2 shades darker or 2 shades warmer, depending on how deep your under eyes are. For example, on me, I'm very yellowy neutral on my skin, but under my eyes, I use a pink tone concealer that is 2 shades darker than my skin tone. Then I go in with a lighter concealer, just touch here, and then brighten up that color because you're neutralizing the darker tone first, like color correcting without the excessive color corrector. And then you can go lighter on top. This kind of eliminates the use of too much product. You don't want to use too much, you want to use a little bit at a time. And also only use that concealer where you are darker and deeper. You don't have to take it the whole way across the eye if you aren't that dark across the whole of the eye. Maybe just in the outside corner here, maybe just on the inside area here. You absolutely don't need to use it the whole way across the eye. And that kind of brings me on to the next bit. Concealer or foundation first. So I get a lot of comments on videos where it's like, oh, why did you do your concealer first? Why did you do your foundation first? I change it up because it doesn't matter. And again, this is talking about under the eyes. Here's how I do it. If I just want everything to blend nicely, I'll do my concealer first, whack on my foundation. If I want my under eyes to be brighter, I'll do my tiny bit of color corrective concealer first, my foundation, and then I'll brighten under the eyes with a concealer because you want that to be on top. So it really depends what you're doing. When it comes to the skin, I personally like to do concealer after foundation. Use your foundation first, see how much coverage you get, and then you can spot conceal in the areas that you need to. That saves you your concealer and overusing that, but it also makes the skin look a little bit less cakey. You'll be surprised how much product you actually don't need. So here's another rule which you have to be kind of careful with, but we've kind of learned this from looking at different hacks and things like that. People say you can't use cream products over powder, which is true unless we hydrate before we add the cream product. So say for example, this is what I do sometimes. I'll do my foundation, everything like that. I'll mattify it with powder. I'll let that sit for a little bit. Then I'll use a hydrating mist, not a setting spray, not something that's going to set the foundation, a hydrating mist. And then you're resetting that powder to that more like creamy texture, and you can go in and add cream on top. Same with a powder foundation. If you are using a powder foundation or just a light face powder, do that first. spray, refresh, let that sit. Now you do have to be very careful that you're then not kind of removing the product that's underneath, but that just means use a lighter brush as opposed to something denser. Use your fingertips, maybe use a beauty blender or a beauty sponge or something like that. So be careful with your process. You can always change the texture of a product to suit you. My last little kind of rule breaking, you don't have to set with powder. You don't have to, you can do, and some people benefit from doing it. I know with me that I need to set with powder, but only in certain areas. First of all, you don't need to bake. That's still a thing I'm gonna stick by forever and ever. But you don't have to set everything with powder. Think about where your skin needs powder. For me, a powder is a if and when you need it product. It's not a necessary product. I personally don't like to set with powder after I've finished makeup. If I'm gonna be on camera, yes, because the cameras are so light, but say I'm doing like a bride's makeup, I won't powder straight away. I will let everything sit and see how it lasts, even for 5 minutes, because more than likely, if your skin is going to interrupt your foundation, it's going to do it within those 5 minutes. If you have oilier skin, for example, you can see texture quite quickly on skin. So I personally only powder my nose and my forehead and these little here, because I know that those get really oily. But I do take the precautions and the steps underneath my foundation to try and block that oil from coming through. But you do not have to set with powder all the time. A finishing touch to a face of makeup isn't always powder. It could be a nice hydrated mist, a setting spray if you want to use a setting spray. You don't have to mattify and flatten. And that's the same with everything. Not every product is a necessary step to makeup. All right, guys, I hope you found that interesting. I kind of got those from questions I'm asked very, very often. I do just want to touch as well on face shape and eye shape. I get a lot of people sending me messages saying, can you look at my face shape and tell me what I am, my eye shape and tell me what I am. The set face shapes are very strange to me. Like, yes, it helps, it does help, but it's almost like following a body shape guide. It's like, oh, I'm an apple. You know what I mean? Like, you might be smaller on top, rounder on the bottom, rounder on top, smaller on the bottom. Everyone is different and everyone is made up completely different. Show me a face that is exactly the same. Even mine and my twin brothers' faces are different. Yes, it's a good base for makeup, and yes, it's a good kind of structure, but you learn that rule about eye shape and face shape so you can break the rules properly. Here's what I suggest you do. Look at yourself in the mirror. You do your own makeup. You know your face. You have put makeup on your face for years and years and years. You know your face more than anyone. However, that kind of means that you kind of get so used to it that sometimes you miss things. So here's what I would suggest. Take a look at your face in the mirror, your eyes, everything like that. Think about what shape you want. Like I said just before, don't think of it as just whacking on color and making a shape. Think about contouring your eyes, structuring your eyes. Do you want to deepen your socket? Do you want to bring it further out? Do you want to push your eye back? You know, think about where you're applying light, dark, contour, structure. Look at your eye shape. Decide what your eye shape is. Are they very close together? Are they very round? Are they kind of more almond and pointed out? And if you can't figure it out, maybe you're a mix of two, and that's absolutely fine. One thing I really like doing, you might see this in my helping my subscribers videos, is I like to take a picture of an eye and I like to just draw a whole load of lines on it. Where do you want that makeup to go? What direction are you taking that makeup in? By putting a darker color here, what are you pushing back? What are you bringing forward by highlighting? Do that on yourself. Do you have a bit of time? Can you draw lines in your face? Do it right now. Do it on your actual eye with an eyeliner. Structure it, blueprints, lay down blueprints for your eye shape. Same with your face shape. I have a very long face shape. So technically, I should cut my face off here, cut my face off here, lines going this way. However, I don't like that sometimes, so I apply a bronzer here and that way because I want more structure in those areas. So yes, we can follow that kind of rule and guideline, but learn your face shape by studying your face shape, and you can learn how to trick and you know what I mean. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Please consider subscribing if you found that helpful and useful. And if you liked the video, you don't have to, it's fine. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Please be safe out there, whatever you are doing. Please look after yourself. I would also just like to say very quickly, if any of you out there feel there's anything you would like me to share, please feel free to send me a message on Instagram and ask me to share it on my stories and whatever else. All right, bye guys.